Welcome to Fighter Pilot X. This is a demonstration video on how we are performing flights here in Fighter Pilot X. This video is about the F-16 solo flight. You will get spawned into the jet with the engine already started, ready for taxi. In Fighter Pilot X we practice lifelike communications, so to keep the immersion at a high level. So in order for us to taxi, first we make sure that we have parking brake on for the F-16. In this case, F-16 and a hot start jet, you don't have to remove the chocks through the COM menu. So we assume that the chocks are out, and we are going to switch to ground control tower by pressing COM 1, enter preset 2, which is usually the tower, and we are going to call the tower using the following phrase. First we are gonna tell the name of the person we are calling to. What follows next is our call sign and then our intentions. So the COM for taxi instructions will go like this: Paphos ground, Venom 2, taxi instructions. Usually you have to be patient to wait for the tower to respond, and if he responds it will be something like this.
Venom 2, clear to taxi, runway 29, QNH 2993.
You should always repeat taxi instructions, so we are going to repeat like this by emitting on channel 2. Venom 2, clear for taxi, runway 29er, QNH 2993. In order to exit the shelter safely, we disengage the parking brake, add a little bit of throttle, maybe half an inch or 1 inch. The aircraft starts to move, we retard the throttle, we check the brakes symmetrically, like this. We have brakes, and then again add the throttle a little bit, engage steering. This light here ensures the steering is engaged, and as it is very accustomed to the F-16 community, we issue taxi with the DED page of INS up in the DED screen, in order to be able to check constantly your ground speed, which is restricted to 15 knots ground speed. So we go list 6, and this is the INS page. Here you can see your ground speed of 3 knots, maximum 15. A rule of thumb for your taxi speed in any jet, in any modern jet, is the speed of a fast walking person. As in every jet and in every airport, we taxi holding the taxi yellow line in between our legs, and usually when you reach to the holding point or the EOR, you need to stop and check your final checklist before takeoff, and then ask permission for takeoff. Here in Paphos runway 29 there is not an AOR, end of runway special area, so we are going to stop just before the line in the intersection. This is the holding point for runway 29er. Apply smoothly the brakes. Stop here. We need to switch to tower frequency, which is usually start 3, and we are going to ask permission for takeoff like this: Paphos Tower, Venom 2 ready for departure. he's going to respond after he has checked all the information he has about us and the traffic.
Venom 2, clear for line up and immediate takeoff, runway 29, wind from 260, 4 knots. After takeoff, climb straight ahead for 3,000 feet and contact approach.
As always, we need to repeat everything that he said like this. Venom 2 is clear for line up and immediate takeoff on runway 29er, wind 260 for 4 knots. After takeoff, straight ahead climb for 3,000 feet and I will switch approach. Sometimes he just clicks on the radio, that means we are clear. We are clear since he told us so. Advancing a little bit on the throttle. We don't want to be fast on the taxi on the F-16, especially if it is loaded with ordnance. The reason for that is that the distance between the two main wheels and the distance between the main wheels and the front wheel is too short, and this aircraft is very prone to tip over in high taxi speeds with high gross weight. Align ourselves in the channel keys, applying the brakes, swipe the controls, make sure that everything works fine. Okay, while applying the brakes you go for about 85, and again this is not actual procedure, this is just a game, so we are safe with 95. Release the brakes, release to maximum AB. When the speed comes alive, we need to disengage the steering, and 150 we rotate, gear up. No need for flaps in the F-16, they are automatic. Okay, climbing 350, AB out, like this. Keep your climb rate, switch to approach, usually number 4, and say something like this: Purpose approach Venom 2 after takeoff with you, and wait for response.
Venom 2, this is Purpose approach positive, radar contact, proceed as flagged.
Venom 2 after takeoff, proceeding as flagged. It's a good idea to repeat every instruction you hear on the radio, especially in the airport region. Now we are making a slight turn to the right to follow waypoint still point 1, which is denoted in the DED with the number 1 on the upper right corner of the DED over there, and you can see the solid line, the solid dot here, that it is denoted with that way on the HSD. A normal cruising speed is a good cruising speed is about 480, though we need to cut back the throttle and check that we have compression and the fuel is feeding normally. Checking the fuel gauge. Here we have 2 needles. And we are going for a medium altitude navigation right now. I forgot to turn on the RWR, I will do it now, and chaff flares to manual, and we are proceeding for steering point 1. Here in the HUD you can see information about your nav. You know that you are in nav mode because you can see here the word nav. Here you can see the distance from waypoint 1, which is 16 miles, steering point 1.
Altitude, altitude, altitude,
You have an
altitude.
altitude warning because by default, when you start the F-16, the default
Altitude.
LO and
Altitude.
MSL floor are set to 500 feet and 5,000 feet. When we are past this crest, we are going to reset them
Altitude,
to lower
Altitude.
values.
altitude,
When the crest is
Altitude.
low, you can do a band maneuver, push the string forward, 0.5 Gs, and start descending to follow the terrain. Since we are going to fly low, let's set up our LO warnings by pushing the override button 2. We have the LO page, altitude low warning. In the scratch pad we are gonna make 10% of the desired altitude minus. If we would like to fly at 300 feet, we are gonna put 270 for the
altitude,
LO.
altitude,
270, enter, it's okay, and let's make the MSL floor 1000. 1000, and enter. But as you can see, I didn't move the scratch pad to MSL floor, so what happened, it changed the Cara allo. So let's go back
Altitude.
to 270,
altitude. Pull up,
and we need to move the scratch pad down to 5,000 feet. We do it with the dobber down. Now the asterisks or the scratch pad is on 5,000 feet. Now I can put 1,000, enter, and with dobber left return to the CNI page, and let's fly now low level over the sea, going for waypoint 2, which is on our right.
altitude, altitude,
As you can see here, we are over steering point 1 now, 1 mile. Let's adjust it. And now we need to switch to, if we press ink deck switch now, we are heading for steering point 2, but we need to turn right because steering point 2 is over there. We can always follow this lollipop shape on the HUD that is pointing towards the selected steering point. So about the lollipop, about the steering point indications, we have this diamond where it projects the steering point that we have selected on our field of view, and we have this upside down lollipop that shows where to turn. We need to put the flight path marker inside the lollipop. That means we are going directly towards the steering point. As you can see on an HSD, if I change the scale from here, this is the ground track we're supposed to follow, but we are not on the ground track. We are going homing or directly towards the waypoint. If I would like to follow the ground track, I need to go a little bit to the right and then reverse to the left to make this blue plane my position over the track. Let's do that. Even though we are too close to the waypoint, usually you don't do this kind of adjustment so close to the waypoint, but just for demonstration, I see the plane on the TSD over the white line, and now I reverse. But we have already reached the steering point, which is this small lake in front of us, and we need to turn for the next waypoint. I can consult my
Altitude.
TSD. I have to make a delay 90 degrees to the right, roughly there, and when I roll out after the turn, I will select the next waypoint with the ink deck switch. Ink deck number 3. Here is the next steering point. We are a little bit left of track. I'm gonna adjust it. You need to be on track on most occasions, especially in tactical situations and operations, because the selected track
Altitude.
has been produced after thorough and rigorous studying and planning of the threat. So the selected track usually puts you out of harm's way, and that's the most important reason why you need almost 99% of the times to follow the planned track. We need to about half a mile, and then we can turn to put the flight path marker inside the lollipop. Something like this.
Altitude.
Okay.
Altitude.
In the next video we're gonna go for the same route, but we are going to execute terrain masking and terrain following maneuvers. Checking our fuel, 8,100.
Pull up.
In a normal ops check, you need to rotate from normal to reservoir about 470.
Altitude.
Internal wing
Altitude.
470. We don't have external
Altitude.
wing, so we return to normal. We are on track.
Altitude.
430,
Altitude.
440 the speed. Let's put a little bit.
Altitude.
We are on the south part of Cyprus. Over there to the left, beyond this small water reservoir, you can see in the view, is Akrotiri, English base on the southern, is this southern tip on Cyprus. It's considered to be English territory. And let's keep the route and follow the coastline up to Paphos Airport for some touch and go landings.
Altitude.
Let's talk a little about the turns in the F-16. F-16 is an Air Force airplane, does not have a fuel dump option, and because this plane is very aerodynamic, you should be very cautious during the landing, especially because it does flare landings. In order for a flare landing to succeed and be easy for the pilot, you need to have, let's say, the appropriate weight. With 7,900 pounds of fuel, because we have the CFTs, as you can see, we are a little bit heavy. The only way to reduce our fuel is to burn it. We cannot jump. So let's do what we used to do in real life when I was returning from QRA assignments in the remote airfield, and we needed to land. We go to a safe altitude, usually above the sea. Let's say 2,000 feet. I can see Paphos Airport over there on the right. It's over there if you can spot it. Let's stay here a little bit, go south into the sea, and let's make some high G maneuvers with afterburner and speed brakes out in order to burn some fuel. During these turns, I'm going to explain you how to perform maximum performance turns in the F-16. It's a little bit tricky because you need to compensate of all these forces that are affecting your jet during the turn, with the most important being the gravity. So when we are flying straight and level as we are at now, everything is in balance. We don't need to do anything, and as you already know, in the F-16 we don't need to trim. We don't need to use this switch in most of the occasions because it auto trims. If I would like to make a turn with this speed 366 and put bank angle of, let's say, 45 degrees and leave the stick alone, I'm gonna see that the flight path marker tends to follow, to go below the horizon, and that has to do with the lift vector, which when I am in a bank angle, it's not vertical anymore, so it reduces the vertical component, so the gravity takes over. That's why when I'm turning, especially in high bank angles, I need to compensate with back stick pressure, aft stick movement, in order to keep the flight path marker on the horizon. So if you can watch the turn, slightly pulling in order to stop the tendency of the flight path marker to fall below the zero pitch line. When the speed is low, the G load is also low, and the bank angle is low, everything is easier. But if you would like to perform a high speed and high G turn, let's go speed brakes out also. I'm checking the speed brake that's outside, and if I would like to make a max G turn in order to bleed my speed, I will do like this, leave it in afterburner, 80 degrees, and start pulling like this. You can see the G's 5, 6, if I pull more, 8, gray, 6.3, and that's one way to burn your fuel quickly with afterburner, turning on the horizon with high G's. 6,600. Let's relax a little bit. Let's get some speed and repeat that on the other side, on the right hand turn. Let's go 600 knots and try to pull 9 G's in this next turn to the right. Almost 3,000 feet, maximum afterburner. Right, and start pulling. Almost 9 G's. G-string maneuver, G-strain maneuver, if you were in real life. Okay, let's go again for 7 G's, 360, 340, cannot sustain G's anymore, so straight and level flight, let it breathe, and we're going to repeat that on the left. 5,400. Okay, we don't want to be for a long time in the AB, in the throttle, because the flow rate from the tanks will produce an erroneous low level warning, and has to do with the rate of fuel feeding to the engine. Let's do another turn here. Let's finish the turn at about here, and as we are in let's get out of AB. Okay, 4,500. It's a little bit heavy, but let's go for land. First we need to contact the approach. Before you enter the control airspace of the airport, you need to contact. Usually the approach is responsible for the further region around the airport. We are in Stat 4, UHF 4, and let's call to say that our intentions. Paphos approach, Venom 2, about 20 miles east-southeast from your station for the active runway, and land. Let's wait for his response.
Level 2, good day. Now with Paphos approach low. Proceed to the entry point, 10 miles to the east, 3,000 feet.
Venom 2 is heading for the entry point of runway 29er, 10 miles to the east, 3,000 feet. I will report there. These white rocks over there, it's about 10 miles east of runway 29 of Paphos. A normal speed for entry in the tower in the airport region is about 300 to 350. Let's go 350 and head for the entry point, 3,000 feet. He should have given us the QNH for the airport. Let's assume that what we have here, 29er2, it is correct and gives us. Let's stay with the brakes out because we need to burn some more fuel. When we go to entry point, we are going to turn left to align ourselves with the Paphos runway 29er, which is over there. The creeping sound you heard is from the RWR, something is painting us with electromagnetic radiation. E3, yes, it's the AWACS. We are almost over the entry point and we are going to report. Paphos approach, Venom 2 at the entry point.
Venom 2, Paphos approach. You are clear for the break. Number 1, switch tower.
Paphos approach, this is Venom 2, clear for the break, switching tower. We need to switch to start 3. Altitude for the break, usually 1500 feet. Let's go start 3. And let's call the tower. Paphos Tower, Venom 2 for break number 1.
Venom 2, Paphos Tower, 5x5, number 1 for break.
Venom 2, number 1 for break. As I told you earlier, I have left the speed brakes out because I need to burn some more fuel. Let's descend to 1500 feet, 350 knots for the brake. Here on the knee-pad, I have the map from a different mission on another theater of operation. It was left there, sorry about that. Disregarded. At the end of the runway, we're gonna peel off to the left towards the sea. Level turn to end up in the opposite heading of 110, same altitude and speed below 260 to lower the gear. So usually you go idle, 60 to 70 degrees back angle and 2 to 3 Gs for the opposite heading. That also will bleed your speed in order to lower your gear when you are in the opposite heading of 110 for the downwind. We are coming there, 110. Let's go gear down. Speed brakes are already out.
Warning, 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 warning.
And we need to add power. This was the horn. Okay, because we were too low on the speed. check the distance for the base leg. Let's correct to start our base leg from 1500 feet. We have 3 green, speed brakes out. Okay, 1500 feet, we can go level and wait for our cue, which is when our wingtip is on the 45 degrees angle from the touchdown point. That will be in a few seconds, if you can see the view over there. Okay, we are 3,800 pounds of fuel, so 45 degrees past the touchdown point. We are going to report Venom 2 base leg, gear down log full stop.
Venom 2 with gear down locked, clear to land runway 2 number, wind calm.
Venom 2 clear to land to 9er, wind calm. We are adjusting the throttle and we are manipulating the stick in order to have 2.5 degrees wire, which is denoted on the HUD with this dashed line where my flight path marker is right now. I have the bracket, the top part of the bracket just touching the left wing of my flight path marker.
Altitude.
And I'm adjusting my turn in order to roll out. On the extension of the runway. Last check for 3 green, speed brake out, rolling out, and I would like to have my flat path marker on the touchdown point where is the piano keys coincided with the 2.5 degrees wire and the bracket as you see it now on your HUD. Don't mind the speed, follow the bracket and remember to do a flare before landing. Very short final, gear down, okay, 170. When you are over the threshold, a little back pressure on the stick and throttle idle, like this, idle and let it touch. Okay, 150 and aerodynamic braking. Keep the back pressure on the stick to hold the nose high up to 10 degrees. Nose high. Okay, below 100. Start braking. Sorry about that. And steering engage. Brakes. Steering is engaged. Let's go speed brake inside. And that was all. When you clear the taxiway on the runway, you can open the canopy handle in order to depressurize the seal of the canopy, so it will be fully depressurized when you stop and open the canopy. That is for now. See you on the next video.